there's kind of two angles into open source as an enterprise. You have let's support, embrace, extend, not extinguish, but extend the stuff that we currently already using, right? Like we already depend on this thing. It's core to our business. We're going to actually put some money into it or put some engineering effort into it. And then the other one is like, let's take something that we have built that's internal and proprietary and let's open source that. And I think that there's different concerns and different pushbacks to those two different types of embracing on the actual let's open source some stuff front. Certainly there's people inside of large enterprises that say, yo, we can't do that. This is our competitive advantage. Right. What do you say? What do you say when people says, why would we just like, this is what we sell. Let's not give it away, for instance.
Yeah. I know it's always my first question. Anytime a team comes to me that we want to open source this, my question is why? Why do you want to open source this? What's in it for you to open source this? Mm-hmm. Are you looking to gain mindshare? Are you looking to get more engineering contribution? Is that a mandatory requirement? Say the partners are telling you, we would not adopt this technology until it is open source, because then we are not just relying upon you, but we can fork it if we need to, or we can contribute to it directly. So I think there are several reasons. And if I go through the book, essentially, this is the book that this is the book that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. There are several why that we talk about. Is it a faster innovation? Is it a more sustainable code base? Because then essentially you're not just reliant upon your engineering teams. You could do fun things, but then in the project, you can also create good first issue where you can encourage developers from around the world to help contribute over there. It could be cost savings, as a matter of fact. That, for example, I may not want to run CI/CD infrastructure, and a hyperscaler may be interested in contributing credits for you to give those infrastructure. It may be a strategic initiative for the company. So, for example, when Google launched Kubernetes, it was made very clear, if you keep it as a Google project, even though open source, nobody would care about it. Mm-hmm. That's the reason they ended up contributing Kubernetes to a foundation, so that it's now a neutral governance body, etc. And then everybody else kind of jumped onto the bandwagon and became a success. It could be a compliance and security, as a matter of fact, or community building, or it could be sheer market visibility. That, hey, this company, Apple, for example, launched Swift, and they just want market visibility because the only way to build developers around that is getting Apple's name out there and bringing all those students and those developers who can then contribute directly to the language. The reason Intel contributes to these open source projects, we contribute to 300 plus open source projects. You pick an open source project and we likely contribute to it. The reason we do that is because our customers, for example, who use our Intel silicon, whether it's hyperscaler, a laptop, a network, a edge, wherever it is, they download these open source projects and they expect them to work in an optimal manner. So the why really is because our customers expect these open source projects to leverage the latest chipset. That's the reason we contribute back to these projects. I think whether you are contributing to an existing project or you are open sourcing an existing project, the why, the business alignment is fundamentally critical on why you want to do that.
You mentioned having some case studies. I don't know if you have any case studies around this, but the question really is like, aside from Kubernetes, that's a good example of Google open sourcing it, not holding on to it. They gave it to the foundation. What are other good examples? And maybe you've written about them in your book, I'm not sure, that are beyond Kubernetes, that are examples of a large corporation giving something, or even a smaller startup, even like not even so much a corporation, but like what are some other examples beyond Kubernetes?
Yeah, I think the book has about 40 plus case studies. And these are case studies from companies like Mercedes-Benz, Bloomberg, Toyota, GitHub, Infosys, Dell, Amazon, a wide range of companies, Fidelity, Johns Hopkins, UC Santa Cruz. So from a wide range of verticals as well. And these case studies really talk about why they care about open source culture and what have they done within their company to foster that open source culture. So, for example, for Bloomberg, one of their big corporate philosophies is philanthropy. And for them, contributing to open source fundamentally aligns with that corporate philosophy. And as a matter of fact, what they also do is for developers who contribute to open source, they do matching dollars. That, okay, hey, we're going to contribute dollars to an open source foundation of your choice. So in that sense, lots of these. So the beauty of these case studies is no matter where you are in your journey, are you starting? Are you an expert? Because the wide range of case studies that have been incorporated into the book, there is something for everybody. And frankly, I reviewed each and every of these case study. I did not write them because they were written by 55 contributing authors. But even to date, and I'm sure over the next several months and years, whenever I read these case studies, like, aha, I missed this nugget, and this is how I can apply it to my day-to-day life. So I think in that sense, there are lots and lots of different case studies. So I would encourage you readers to go through the book and say, which vertical do you align with? Oh, maybe I'm a medical, in the pharma industry. So I will take a look at Johns Hopkins. Maybe I'm a retailer. I'll take a look at Amazon. Maybe I'm a GSI. I'm going to take a look at that. I'm a device manufacturer. I'll take a look at Dell case study. Or I'm into a technology company. Several examples in there. So I think in that sense, hopefully the diversity, the quality, and the quantity of case studies gives everybody a nugget that they can pick up and apply into their day-to-day work.
I think going back to the why is really important and well said by you, because if you have a solid why that aligns with your business incentives, everything else kind of makes sense. And if you don't, then you're kind of perpendicular and you shouldn't be doing this in the first place. And so if you can find the why right away, I think Swift is another good example. You brought that one up, Arun, where it's like Apple put a lot into Swift. And if they just wanted an awesome language for iOS or Apple platform engineers, they probably didn't need to open source it. Of course, there's non-open source languages of the past that are just fine for that. But if they want a general purpose programming language that's adopted by everyone around the world, it had to be open source. And so that was their why, is like, we want this to be more impactful than merely the next best language, not the next best, the best language they think for developing Apple apps. And so that's another good one where it's like, that was a huge decision, because think of how much money they had into Swift, just engineering hours. It was like 5 years of just Chris Latner working on it. And then they brought a team in and then like all this stuff. And then they got all this stuff rewritten in Swift. And so that's a huge investment that someone said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and give it away to the world in order to accomplish our business goals. And I think that's totally fine. It makes complete sense. Not everything is merely altruism. It's cool with Bloomberg that they have that in their mission statement or whatever. Like, philanthropy is one of our core incentives at Bloomberg. Not every business does that. But if you can find your why, then the details have to be figured out and managed, but they're just details.
Correct. No, I think you're putting it very well. There is different companies have different whys, and each company has different whys for different projects, as a matter of fact. But locking that down, writing it down is super important, because oftentimes it's brewing in your head. So usually when any leader comes to me that, okay, we want to open source this project, my first question is why? And there is corporate altruism, as you said, in some cases. More often than not, it's an enlightened self-interest. That, right. Okay, this is where it's going to serve me, and in the process, it's going to serve the world as well. It's totally a fair gesture, as a matter of fact. I mean, one of the efforts, like I think, Adam, you were asking, Intel contributed, for example, one API, right? So we created this one API that's going to be a unified API across different accelerator architectures. So we created this for our benefit, but then over the period of time, we realized, hey, this could benefit the world as well. So over a couple of years ago, we created this thing called as UXL Foundation, Uniform Acceleration Foundation. So that's the foundation that we created, brought a whole bunch of members together over there. And now that thing is taking a life of its own. So in that sense, the whole idea was, if this is indeed an API, unified API, then everybody needs to partner in and everybody needs an equal stake at the table so that they can define what the life of it's going to look like. Because if you want that collective engineering effort, there is no other way without going out in the open source. And that the diversity of thoughts is what I really enjoy in the open source journey.